What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa. So as you know, every single month we get a download from TCG Player and it tells us what cards on their website are selling with the highest degree of velocity. And as you know, TCG Player is one of the primary spots for buying and selling Pokemon cards. So I share that information with you. We look at the top 10 Pokemon singles every single month, and it's fascinating to see how many consecutive months certain cards are on there and to watch their prices grow. And it is just a really cool data set that we get all kinds of great learnings from. But it's too early in the month for us to have December numbers, but what I thought I would do is give you the top 10 Pokemon singles, at least in PikaPikaPaPa's eyes, from 2024. So all of these cards are cards that were released in 2024, and for one reason or the other, I think that they are special enough that they're going to have an indelible mark on our Pokemon collecting and investing brains. And it doesn't mean all of these are going to, pop through the roof over the next couple years and, be a secret gold mine that's going to put your kids through college or anything like that. But I do think that they are going to be at the forefront of collectors' minds for a long time, which in turn I think has an opportunity for them to be really special in the long run. So with that being said, as I said, we do all kinds of fun deep dives and videos and top tens and stuff like that here on this channel. And if you get into this and you're finding value and you're having a ton of fun, I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, and if you got questions or comments, drop them down below. I got a small channel. Any of those things go a long way in helping me out, and I really, really appreciate it. So with that being said, let's start looking at PikaPikaPaPa's top 10 cards from 2024. Now, I gotta start off with a unique card, right? The thing that I love about this Greninja, first off, I thought the timing was impeccable, right? Like Shrouded Fables came out after Twilight Masquerade, and obviously Greninja Fever was all over the place. But what made this card really special for me, and the reason it's on the list, is the artwork, right? This is a wood grain type art card, which we haven't seen before here in the Pokemon space. And the other thing that I like about it, and believe it or not, I actually think is a good thing for this card, is it came from a Shrouded Fables box. And Shrouded Fables, as you and I, and as I promise you the Pokemon Company knows, is not the most in-demand set. It's not the most popular set. From a specialty set perspective, it doesn't have a lot of star power on it, a lot of bang to it. And the reason I actually think that might be good for this promo card is because I don't know how much Pokemon Company International prints of anything, but I would certainly think a set that they know and we know and all of us can align with isn't the most popular. They probably didn't print as much of this as, say, they will end up printing for, like, I don't know, a Surging Sparks or a Twilight Masquerade or those more popular sets. So it could be interesting 3, 5, 10 years from now when we look at this card. This card might be in a little bit of a lower supply compared to some of its peers. Now, when you look at that price graph right there, obviously the market has just been gobbling this thing up. To think it came out at just over $8 a card, and now it is all the way up to $18.47. And another thing, another feather in this card's cap to tell you how popular it is, every month on this channel we get the grading data from PSA, SGC, Beckett, CGC, right? And we look at the most graded cards at PSA. 2 months in a row now, this has been on the most graded cards list at PSA out of all TCG cards out there in the world. So that just goes to show you a lot of people are paying attention to this card. So really cool one to kick off the video with, and I think it highlights a bunch of different aspects, and the artwork is stunning. I'm just excited to see what this card does in the long run. Another one with awesome artwork and another one with a really awesome story behind it is this Bubble Mew. Now, this Bubble Mew was on the list of top 10 cards that have exchanged hands the most on TCG Player for 6 consecutive months this year. That is rare air. We don't see that in a ton of cards. Some other cards that we've seen beyond that list for 6 months or more, think the Moonbreon was on there, right? For like 8 months in a row at one point. The Lugia from Silver Tempest was on there for 9 months in a row. The Giratina from Lost Origin, right? That one was on there. Like, you just don't see cards on that list for 6 months in a row unless it's a big card and unless the hobby absolutely loves it. And the interesting part of that is as it continued to be on this list, it didn't really take off in value until maybe 3 months ago. And then not only did it take off, it shot through the freaking roof. Now, whenever I see a card that does that, that stays dormant and flat for so long and that just all of a sudden shoots up, makes me feel like it's going to give back some of those gains. That's not what I would describe organic or natural growth, right? And we saw that. We saw it give back a little bit of those gains, but it does look like it's flattening her out right around the $265, $260 point. So this is a card that I'm going to be keeping an eye on throughout the rest of 2025. How much of that big spike is it going to be able to hold on to? Wildly popular card. Everybody loves it. Again, to be on that list 6 months in a row just tells you that people have been in love with this for a long period of time. So it's going to be fascinating to see what this one does. And obviously one of the more iconic cards of 2024. The next one on this list is this Eevee card, and listen, when before Twilight Masquerade actually came out, I did a video review on it, and I said, listen, the Greninja's okay, but I really like this Eevee card, and boy, did I miss on that Greninja. But this Eevee card was one that I had a lot of belief in. As we all know, like especially right now, with the Moonbreon headlining it, like Eevee and Eevee Evolution cards are going absolutely through the roof, and now we have Prismatic Evolutions that's coming out on January 17th, which is keeping the hype and the fever alive, and this card has just been a steady Eddie grower, and that is what I really like. Yes, you saw an early jump right as soon as Twilight Masquerade came out, but it has been growing pretty organically ever since. And I don't know what the top end is for this card. I think the fact that you got Greninja so high, I think that's going to help pull some of the other cards in the set up. Twilight Masquerade obviously is a very popular set, so it's going to be interesting to see. And I do think that even when Prismatic Evolutions comes out, even as frenzied as the market is now, I think it's going to get even more hot around Eevee and Eevee Evolutions card. I did a video the other day and I was talking about some of the older Eevee and Eevee Evolutions cards, which I think are undervalued and I think are going to start to get a little more popular because of all the fury that's going on around it right now. So a really cool card, certainly one of the better artworks of 2024, certainly one of the more popular Pokemon of 2024 and beyond. So it's going to be interesting to watch this one and see how it kind of grows over the next couple years. Again, another card, which I'm not going to say it's the most popular Pokemon in the world in Gastly, but I love a card that is a good mashup. You got Gastly, you got Haunter, you got Gengar sitting there sticking out his big tongue. Like everything that I could possibly love is on this card. I'm obviously a huge Gengar fan, and this is another card where, do you remember when Temporal Forces came out and you had the Morty's Conviction card, right? And it's got a big old picture of Gengar in the front, and that card shot up to like $120. It was absolutely wild. Well, this card shot up with it, but what happened, the same thing as Morty's Conviction, it eventually came back down. But what we've seen over the last couple months is this card's growing. It's growing steady, it's growing slow, it's growing upward and to right. Like I like what I'm seeing out of this card. I think this card has the opportunity for continued gains further down the road. Now listen to me, this is not going to be, in my mind, I don't think this is going to be a $100, $150 card or anything like that, so you should temper your expectations. But I do think that this card is going to be in high demand. I do think this card has some growth ahead of it, and I do think Temporal Forces is a set that we're kind of sleeping on a little bit. It doesn't have the huge stars at the very, very top of the set, but it's got some awesome artwork, and you're going to see more cards from that set later on in this video. The next one we're talking about right here is the card that I completely and totally whiffed on, was the Greninja EX from Twilight Masquerade. I don't know. I didn't have this card hitting $300. I'll tell you that much. I didn't really have this card hitting $250, but it just goes to show you, it really doesn't matter what me or anybody else thinks. It's the broader market. And every time this card started to go on a little bit of a regression, I've said aloud and I've said in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, here we go. Greninja's getting ready to drop. Like now we're going to finally see what this card is actually worth because the prices is coming back down. And every time the prices come back down, it hits a support line. The market says, and it pops back up. This card is heavily supported over $300. Now, it's still relatively early. There's still a lot of Twilight Masquerade left to be opened. There's still some really great cards that are going to come out in 2025 in the Scarlet and Violet era, and I don't know if we have other big name cards. Obviously, the Pikachu Special Illustration Rare certainly hasn't done anything to slow this card down, but if we get 4 or 5 cards that end up in that $300 price point, like, is there enough people out there buying ultra modern cards at $300 in order to continue to support the high price? Is Greninja the one that'll stay up top and something else will fall down? Will Greninja fall? Will all of them stay over $300? Who knows? But my gosh, this is the stuff that gets me excited, and I cannot wait to see how all of it transposes over the rest of the Scarlet and Violet era. All I know is that people love this card, and this card is cranking at $330 right now. Next one, as I said, this is the final cards from Temporal Forces, and I was going to do these as individual cards, but I really view them not as one and the same, but I view them in the way I think they're special as very similar, so I wanted to keep them together. I just love the artwork. I think the artwork on both of these cards is absolutely insane. That Raging Bolt is awesome. The Iron Crown, I've said it a million times over. If you pull Iron Crown off that tree, you put Umbreon up there and you make it an Umbreon card, you got Moonbreon 2.0, and this is, you know, an $800 card right now, but Umbreon's not on there. It's Iron Crown. So the price is what it is, but the artwork is really awesome. My only bit of trepidation, and I've said this every time I've talked about either one of these cards, is I am a long-term collector and investor. I hold my cards for a very, very, very long time. And I don't know if 5 or 10 years from now, the market is going to be in high demand for Iron Crown and Raging Bolt cards from Temporal Forces. That is yet to be seen. It sure looks right now that the market sure is in love with that Raging Bolt card, up over $100. Then you got the Iron Crown card, which was working its way down. It was in the $50 range, and then all of a sudden it spiked back up. Is that a temporary buyout where, it's starting to still find support at the $70 range? Like, we'll have to see where these cards shake out in the long run. But for me, this is going to be a real opportunity to see how well these newer names can hold on throughout the course of, the rest of the year and beyond. So I'm gonna keep an eye on them. I love the artwork. I think they're stunning. If they get back into the $50 range, I'll be picking them up just for the personal collection. But really cool cards, and certainly I think some of the more iconic cards from 2024. Next card on the list is, if you thought you were getting through a top 10 list with PikaPikaPaPa and we weren't going to find some way to talk about Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes, then you don't know me at all, because I am borderline obsessed with that product. And the price graph in this card right here is a great example of why I'm so obsessed with those products. Okay, this card was trading below $10 for a very long time, and then all of a sudden this Pokemon Center exclusive stamped Mimikyu just shot up over $40. Paldean Fates is an epic set. We knew it was an epic set. You got Charizard in there, you got that Bubble Mew in there, you got the shiny babies in there. Like, there's everything to love about it. But for whatever reason, the market didn't realize it until recently. I mean, that Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer box, even though it was sold out on the Pokemon Center here in the US, was still available basically at MSRP for like 3, 4, 5 months. It was absolutely wild. Now, it's finally taken off. Last I saw, it was almost at $140 for those Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes. But that is just why I don't even ask questions. If there's a new set coming out, I am buying as many cases of Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes as I can responsibly afford, because they just have this strong track record of performance. And this card is just another example of, it was underperforming, nobody was paying attention to it. Is this the card that's going to break the trend? And then all of a sudden snaps back up and ends up right where it should be at $40. Just absolutely wild to watch these Pokemon Center exclusive items and products do what they're doing. Next card right here is the Squirtle, and I've said this a million times over, my youngest is a huge Squirtle fan, and Squirtle is having one heck of a generation. In Scarlet and Violet, between the 151 Squirtle card and this one, this might be the greatest generation of artwork for Squirtle we've ever seen. Absolutely love both of these cards. Stellar Crown, I don't know if this is going to go down as one of the top 5 or 6 sets in the Scarlet and Violet era. I just don't think, again, Terrapago is sitting at the very top right now. I don't think that's going to be big enough to kind of carry it to glory further down the road, but I do love this Squirtle card, and I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being the #1 chase card. Again, another card, I'm not sure it's going to end up north of the $100 point anytime soon, but from a great card with an awesome amount of artwork and obviously a big name Pokemon from the very beginning in Squirtle, it is hard to go wrong with this art. This is just really, really special, and I could not have this list without including this card on it. And of course, now we're getting into the final two, and we've got to talk about the big set so far in the Scarlet and Violet era. And yes, we are talking about Surging Sparks, and you can't talk Surging Sparks without talking about this Latias card. Surging Sparks is brand new. I mean, we're like a month and a half in, right? So it's really hard to get any tail on the direction of this. But what I can say definitively is this card is finding a lot of support north of $200. The artwork is awesome. It's a special illustration rare. And we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, this could be really special. The booster boxes right now at over $200 is absolutely wild to think about. I pre-ordered 2 booster boxes for my kids for Christmas, right? Because I'll always let them open a booster box on Christmas. So I have 2 Surging Sparks booster boxes sitting aside waiting for my kids to open on Christmas. But as I see the booster box prices getting higher and higher, I'm like, God, why didn't I buy 2 other booster boxes for them? And we could have kept those as investments. But this is all about the kids and having fun. So obviously we're going to rip those booster boxes and have a ton of fun while we're doing it. But this card is just doing really well, and the set obviously is starting to shape out to be one of the most iconic ones, not just of 2024, but also of the whole Scarlet and Violet era. And then you should have known that we were going to end with this card, PikaPikaPaPa. Huge Pikachu fan. My family absolutely loves Pikachu. And this is another card where I just continue to be amazed at the support the card is receiving at the price point it is at. Again, this one popped up to like $575 right after it came out. Started to come back down. I got excited. I'm thinking, okay, more Surging Sparks are being opened. More of these cards are starting to hit the market. Like, the demand is starting to get met with more supply. So we're going to see this price come back down. And then guess what? It shoots right back up to over over $450, and now it's finding a ton of support at that $465 mark. And you know, the other thing that's interesting too is in Surging Sparks, special illustration rares, those are not even the hardest pulls, right? Those gold cards have a lower pull rate than the special illustration rares, and it's going to be interesting. I do think the Pokemon Company is going to do similarly to what they did with Brilliant Stars and Lost Origin when they came out and they immediately shot up over MSRP. The Pokemon Company did a great job of injecting a lot more of those booster boxes out through local card shops and through their website, and they ended up meeting a lot of that demand. Now those booster boxes, they went back below MSRP for a little while, and then obviously they shot back up not long after, but it gave the market a little bit of a breath and people were able to get those awesome products at more approachable price points. So I would imagine we'll see something similar with Surging Sparks. I would think at worst we will start to see more of them available at MSRP at some point in the future. Maybe we'll get through the holidays and then Pokemon Company will launch more, but it's going to be really interesting. And as we get more products out there, as we start to understand what the gem rate of this card is, right? We haven't had enough of these graded for us to start to understand what the gem rate is. You know, this back half of Scarlet and Violet, we've seen product or the quality improve substantially. So first half we saw like 30-40% gem rate. Now we're starting to get into the more 60-70% gem rate, which we saw a lot in Sword and Shield era. So all of that is going to combine into some, I don't know, some movement here in terms of what this card is going to do. I love the card. I would love to have it in my collection. I don't $465 love it, but it certainly is the iconic card from what so far is the iconic set of the whole Scarlet and Violet era. So I'm pumped to have this one on here, and I cannot wait to see what this set does for the long run. So with all that being said, I hope you had a ton of fun. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love it if you tell me what awesome cards I foolishly missed and add them in the comments down below. And while you're at it, if you had fun, hit that subscribe button or give us a thumbs up. I appreciate you more than I can say. I hope you have an epic one, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.